Washington, D.C., the heart of American democracy, with armed soldiers patrolling its street. Not in a war zone, not overseas, but right here at home. Official says it's for protection. But is it really? Or is something much bigger at play? Today, we are diving into a story that line between safety and power, democracy and control. And trust me, what you are about to hear might just change the way you see America's future.
We woke up to this morning. As we speak, there are more than 2,000 armed soldiers, military, patrolling the streets of our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. The federal task force managing the D.C. takeover says that the majority of those troops are carrying their service-issued M17 pistols, while a number are packing M4 rifles. At the moment, orders are to use those weapons, quote, as a last resort in response to an imminent threat of death or serious bodily harm. Troops are not making arrests, not yet at least. We should be clear, members of the United States military are among the finest and bravest and most noble men and women our country has to offer, period, full stop. The fault in everything we discussed today does not lie with them, but with the person giving them their orders, the country's elected commander-in-chief. Donald Trump today, in the midst of signing executive orders ending cashless bail and criminalizing flag burning, again suggested he'll send troops to Chicago and maybe also Baltimore, potentially putting nearly 4 million Americans under this dark new rule of law and order regime in America. Then he said this.
As you all know, Chicago's a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense and I'm a smart person. And when I see what's happening to our cities, and then you send in troops, instead of being praised, they're saying you're trying to take over the republic.
The Trump administration will publicly, in statements like that, say that these drastic, unprecedented measures are designed to fight crime. The reality is that, as far as we can tell, so far, it is not about that. It's a show of force. New York Times tracked incoming defendants to a federal courthouse in Washington, D.C., people appearing before a magistrate judge who would otherwise be dealt with at a local court level if charges were ever filed against them at all. Quote, one man had been arrested over an open container of alcohol. Another had been charged with threatening the president after delivering a drunken outburst following his arrest on vandalism. And one defendant's gun case so alarmed prosecutors that they intend to drop the case. To defense lawyers and even some prosecutors, many of the cases that have landed in court have raised concerns that the takeover seems intended to artificially inflate its effect because government lawyers have been instructed to file the most serious federal charges, no matter how minor the incident.
Troops themselves are not the problem. They are brave, dedicated Americans, fulfilling their duty. The real question lies with the man giving the orders, Mr. President Donald Trump. Instead of working on long-term solutions for crime, he is deploying soldiers into American cities. Feels like less protecting communities and more like projecting power. And when a president normalizes military presence in everyday life, it starts to blur the line between democracy and something much more concerning. So that is what I'd call the boiling frog movement. At first, it seems like just another headline, nothing unusual, but step by step, the temperature rises and suddenly we wake up in a country where freedom feels more like a slogan than a reality. If we don't pause and question these moves now, the shift could happen without us even noticing. And here is the part that really made me stop. Trump did not just stopping at DC. He is already talking about sending troops into Chicago and Baltimore. That changes the conversation entirely.
This is not about fighting crime. This is about Donald Trump searching for any justification to deploy the military in a blue city, in a blue state, to try and intimidate his political rivals. This is about the President of the United States and his complicit lackey, Stephen Miller, searching for ways to lay the groundwork to circumvent our democracy, militarize our cities, and end elections. There is no emergency in Chicago that calls for armed military intervention.
Governor Pritzker's point there, that Donald Trump twists and turns his authority and the levers of government so he is able to intimidate his political rivals, is quite evident, not just in his command of the military, but in his handling of what should be a politically independent arm of the executive branch. And
About something hot occurred, like the Mr. President, don't come to Chicago. You are neither wanted here nor needed here. Governor G.B. Pritzker said after the President Donald Trump announced plans to send troops to the city. Earlier Monday, Trump appeared to waver on the plan. Pritzker reiterated in a press conference Monday that neither he, Johnson, or local and state police have been alerted about a federal troop deployment to Chicago. This was really about fighting crime and making the streets safe. What possible justification could the White House have for planning such an exceptional action without any conversation or consultation? What stands out here is not just Governor Pritzker, Sharp's rejection of Trump's plan, but the lack of consultation. For a president to even consider deploying federal troops into a major US city without notifying its governor, mayor, or law enforcement, that feels less like leadership or more like political theater. It sends a message that Washington wants control over local communities, even if those communities never ask for it. The consequences of such an action could be far reaching. Instead of fostering trust, it risks deepening the divide between citizen and government. Federal troop patrolling neighborhoods could create tension, fear, and conflict rather than safety. In fact, it might make a resident feel as tough their city is under occupation rather than being protected. And here is the bigger question for you. If extraordinary measures like this can be taken without local approval, what does it mean for the future of state and city authority in America?
Street all over the country, cashless bail. We're ending it, but we're starting by ending it in D.C., and that we have the right to do through federalization. Okay, let's go. Could I ask you to say exactly what this is?
Of course. So as you've consistently identified, sir, cashless bail policies are a key driver of the disorder we see on city streets all over America. Catch and release system allows criminals to keep going back out onto the street and reoffending. What this executive order does, it charges your attorney general with identifying jurisdictions all over the country that have cashless bail policies, and then it withholds or revokes federal funds and grants that are flowing to those jurisdictions to ensure that we're only supporting the people who have reasonable common sense policies around crime.
So what area does it cover?
Potentially anywhere that has a cashless bail policy. So some of the largest cities, some of the most left-wing states in America
Almost
have adopted.
all of them, right?
Illinois would be a great example of that, sir.
Oh, they have a great cashless bail. You don't even have to go to court sometimes. No, Illinois, I love that state. It's a great state, but it's run so badly by Pritzker. They threw him out of the family business and he becomes governor. Now he wants to run for president. I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, we'll sign right here, right?
Sir.
So important. And this isn't Republican, Democrat. This is, and by the way, most Democrats agree with us. But this is just, we got to bring our country back. Okay?
In the same week, Trump signed executive orders targeting bail reform and even moving against symbolic protests like flag burning. Then, in front of the cameras, he referred to Chicago as a killing field and brushed off critics who said Trump's deployment make him look like a dictator. His exact words were, maybe we like a dictator. I am not a dictator. I am a smart person. The things that stop me and force me to speak, because when a leader feels the need to say, I am not a dictator, that's not reassuring. That's concerning. It's not about solving crime. It's about controlling the narrative. It's about using military optics as distraction, leaning into a strongman language instead of tackling real solutions. So here, where we left. Soldiers on America's street, governor rejection, federal orders, and a president rushing off warnings of dictatorship. The question is not just about today, it's about tomorrow. If this is the new normal, what comes next? Because when power is tested against freedom, history tells us the outcome is not always in the people's favor. The real choice may be ours to make, but only if we are paying attention towards it. Thank you so much.